Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin Van Churn, and welcome to our show. So guys, we have another solo episode this week. We promised not to make a habit of this, but we had something come up last minute right before we were recording. So, this week you'll be stuck with me, but we got a lot to talk about, including a Bundesliga youngster picking up their first assist this weekend. We also have some more playing time concern for a USMNT star. And finally, we have one USMNT player back from injury and thriving over in the championship. So all that and more in this week's episode. So the first player we want to talk about today is Josh Sargent. So Josh got another start for Werder Bremen in their big 2-2 draw with Borussia Dortmund over the weekend. And, in this game, Josh played very well. He actually picked up an assist on Bremen's second goal. And basically, this assist came off a headed flick on, basically off a corner kick. So it looked like Josh was trying to shoot on goal, but didn't exactly get his angle right and headed the ball perfectly in the direction of another Werder Bremen teammate who was able to hit the ball home and draw Werder Bremen even with Dortmund. So definitely a great moment from him there. In this game he really did well linking play up top. He didn't get too many chances to be on the ball in this game, but I thought when he was on the ball, he looked very bright. For their first goal, he kind of had some nice hold-up play and kind of had a nice horizontal pass to spring the counter, I would say. So that was really good, and that, like I said, led to the first goal. So it's safe to say, or it's fair to say that he had a hand in both goals, which is, very good from a player. The one other thing too is it's really good to see Josh be involved in one of Bremen's big games this year, and not just big games, but big results. It seemed like last year and even in this year, whenever Josh was on the field, the score, not the score of the game, but the games he was involved in, they didn't really have the best outcomes. I know last year there was some games he was involved in where Bremen were supposed to win, and he wasn't able to really contribute to that. They either lost or tied, and it was just some disappointing performances. So it's really good to see him be involved in this big Bremen draw with Dortmund, and play a hand in the game and in one of the goals. And like I said, really looked good in this game. There's some quotes after the game from Florian Kohfeldt, and I know we've heard a lot of good quotes from him about Josh Sargent in the past, but he basically said in one of his quotes that Josh has his full trust now. So that's something I haven't heard him say before, and I don't know how much stock we should really put in it, but it's definitely good to hear that. And he said something to the effect as well that he'll have a lot more minutes as long as Nicholas Füllkrug is out, who's what Kohfeldt said was their best striker, their most important striker for the season. So I believe Füllkrug will be out for a few more months. I'm not exactly sure if that's accurate, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he'll be out through October or towards the end of October at the very least. So definitely time to shine for Josh Sargent. And, they have one more game coming up before the Nations League cup matches for the USMNT, or that break, the international break, I should say. So I expect Josh to start again this weekend. Had a very bright game and, really contributed to play. Got some other chances to score on goal, but unfortunately wasn't able to finish them in this game. So as long as he continues to do that and, scores the occasional goal here or there and helps Bremen get results week to week, I think, Kohfeldt's gonna ride the hot hand even when Füllkrug comes back. But, that remains to be seen. We'll hopefully find out soon, or we'll hopefully see Josh kind of take the reins and be the player that Kofeld can rely on over Fulkrug when he's back and healthy. But so we'll keep monitoring Josh's progress at Bremen. We're starting to get very excited for him now, watching these last few games that he's played in. And we won't know. I guess the Nations League roster will be out probably before this video gets uploaded, but at the moment it hasn't been released yet. So we're also excited to see whether or not he's on that roster. I think it's safe to say he will be, unless there's some unforeseen injury or, Greg Berhalter takes some weird slant with the roster, or, if he tries to go very young with the roster, you never know. But, so with that being said, now let's move over to England and talk a little bit more about a topic we discussed last week, and that would be Christian Pulisic and his lack of playing time. So, during last week, Christian Pulisic did take part in Chelsea's EFL Cup win over Grimsby Town, and that was a 7-1 win. So Christian started in this game, had an assist, but really wasn't one of the bright points or wasn't one of the best player performances on the day. So in this game, Chelsea started a lot of the fringe players that that Frank Lampard hasn't really been starting or had in his 18 up to the season or up to this point in the season so far. And, some players that scored and played really well in the day were Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's back from injury now. I believe scored at least one goal in this game. And, players or not even players, but Chelsea fans were really excited to see him in this game and thought he had a great game. Also, Reece James, so right back, so not really in close contention for starting spot with Christian Pulisic, but he was also back from injury. I don't think it was his Chelsea debut, but he's a young player who hasn't really played a lot, also scored on the day. So those were kind of the bright spots that it seemed like Chelsea fans took from this game. And, Christian Pulisic did have an assist in this game, but didn't really look like a standout in this game, which is a little concerning. Grimsby Town, I believe, is a League Two team, so definitely not any type of competition for Chelsea, and it definitely made the game not very cohesive, and even Chelsea kind of wiped the floor with Grimsby Town on the day. So, how much stock we should put in not a stellar performance from Christian Pulisic in this game, I really don't know. Obviously, Chelsea fans, it seems, the more we interact with them or, see how they interact with Christian, seem to be very, what's the right word for it? Emotional or expressive in one manner or the other. So, a lot of people were hyping up Callum Hudson-Odoi after this game and some of their other younger players, Billy Gilmore. So to see them not hype up Christian Pulisic, I don't know really where that lands on the Chelsea fan meter. But, so, it was good to see him get 90 minutes for Chelsea. Any game time at the moment is good to keep him fresh and hopefully in Frank Lampard's mind. But, over the weekend then, he did not play for Chelsea, was on their bench, and that was in a 2-0 win over Brighton. So, concern there. Obviously, Chelsea had some other attacking options that were used off the bench, and they got the win too. So, I think I'll talk about it a little later here, but I don't think it's really time to panic for Pulisic just yet. And, there was some quotes that came out after this game, basically on Christian talking about his lack of playing time and where Frank Lampard has kind of factored into these decisions. And the first quote was, and this was directly from Christian Pulisic, "Yeah, of course, it's very frustrating. I will continue to work my hardest because I want to play." So, that's good to hear from Christian. He's keeping up a good attitude, it sounds like, and understands that, to get on the field, it's going to take playing hard in training. It's going to take showing the manager, Frank Lampard, all that he can in what limited game time he gets. So, it's good to see him or hear him have that mindset. And the other quote he had too was, he, referring to Lampard, just said to keep working, and now I have to prove myself in training and try to get back in the lineup. So it definitely does seem like there's some communication between him and Frank Lampard. It does seem like it's not as much as you would hope, or I would say that you would hope from a star player or a $73 million transfer coming in. It does kind of seem like him and Frank have a kind of a distant relationship. I don't want to read into it too much, but it definitely doesn't seem like him and Frank are very close, and it's more of just it kind of sounds like Christian is upset and frustrated with Frank, and I think that's kind of valid. The other thing to take away from these two quotes is most of the time Christian is very neutral in a lot of his quotes that he gives out and a lot of the things that he says. He's very good at public speaking and speaking in front of the press and cameras, and trying to keep things trying to keep his emotions in check and trying to keep narratives neutral. But I feel like in these two quotes, he kind of does give us some insight into, what's going on behind the scenes. And it definitely seems like he's frustrated. And, I don't blame him. But that's just something interesting. When I first read those quotes, I was thinking, oh, he's being pretty honest with these quotes. So, yeah. Like I talked about a little earlier, is it time to panic for Christian? I don't think so. There's so many games that Chelsea's going to play in this year that I just can't foresee injuries first happening, and also just Frank being able to need players to rotate at some point in the season. And, obviously Callum Hudson-Odoi is back now from injury and is a player that Chelsea fans, English fans, probably Frank Lampard will be really excited to play. And, it kind of is what it is. Christian's a very young player as well, so he's got a lot of exciting qualities about him, and will be a player that I think will get game time. I think the time to panic would be around the turn of the year. I think if he only has, like, say he only plays in 4 more games up until Christmas, then I would be very concerned. Now, if he's playing in or substitute appearances, how should I say it? If he has 6 substitute appearances and 2 starts, I'm not too worried yet. I think, that would be a more realistic route. I think he'll start, a Champions League game here or there, a Premier League game when some of them get a little more congested right around the end of the year. Although they do have a break this year, so that might change the schedule a little bit. But I don't think it's time to panic yet. And not a good indicator, but something to keep in mind too, when me and Pat did some digging on some research of previous players at Chelsea and kind of their first few months at the club. And when Willian was first signed, it took him all the way up until Boxing Day to really break into that squad and become an established player for Chelsea and be a player that is a go-to player. It kind of took him that much time to assimilate into the squad. So, just throwing it out there as an example. And now, Willian is arguably the best attacking player on Chelsea's team. There's a lot of hot takes on Willian and how good he actually is, but I personally think he's probably Chelsea's best attacker. And that could just be because, he's one of the most experienced attackers they have at the moment. But yeah, so we'll monitor Christian's playing time from here on out. Hopefully we see him on that Nations Cup roster. I don't think it's a necessity to have him on that roster, but anytime we can see him in the red, white, and blue, that would be good with me. So yeah, now let's move over to Germany and talk about Weston McKennie. So Weston was part of a big Schalke win this weekend over RB Leipzig, and they got the 3-1 win. So truly impressive. Schalke has come a far way already in this short season. And Sunday's game, or actually it was Saturday's game, I believe, was kind of the icing on the cake so far. And, Schalke took it to RB Leipzig right from the start of the game. They really came out, they were very aggressive. They played a a more attacking style than they usually do. They went with 2 strikers up top instead of 1 like they usually play in their system, and just really wanted to play on the counter and play the same type of football or soccer that RB Leipzig like to play, which is fast. And they ended up, coming out on the day on top. And, Weston, I thought, played a good part in this game. He didn't get an assist or, I don't think he was as clinical in terms of, keeping possession, making smart passes in this game as he usually was. But, it didn't come back to bite Schalke on the day. I did think he could be more crisp in some of the passes he made. But, he was definitely a good part of the Schalke win. And, it's great to see Schalke playing well again. I think this is big for Weston this year, is to be working under David Wagner and be, working in a system that really suits his playing style. So, the more success that Schalke can have, I think the more Weston will grow. And I was watching the game. I like the way RB Leipzig play. So, I wanted to see, when I tuned into the game, I wanted to see, what they had to offer. RB Leipzig have kind of taken that next step this year. At least we thought they did before this game. And I was very impressed with what Schalke did on the day. So, not too much on Weston, but, again, we'd love to see him in the Nations League roster, but I don't think it's a necessity. So we'll have to see what Greg Berhalter does. But, now let's head over to England and talk about a player who has come back from injury and has been inserted right back into that starting lineup, and that would be Duane Holmes. So for Derby County, Duane Holmes got an assist over the weekend in their 3-2 win over Birmingham City, and the assist was on the first goal of the game, which was 2 minutes into the game, and it was basically it came from Duane winning the ball back, blowing by a defender, and then placing a really nice cross into the box. The striker took it down, fumbled with it for a little bit in the box, and then took a really slow rolling shot that went past the goalkeeper and gave Derby the early lead. So, ever since Duane came back from injury, he missed the Gold Cup this summer because of a nagging injury. He's been inserted right back into that Derby County lineup, starting lineup, I should say, and has been a force for them. That's what I really wanted to see from Duane, at least to start the season. I really wanted to see him be a focal point of what Derby does this season. They had Frank Lampard there last year, and he kind of became a star player for them and was a lock starter for them at the end of the season. So I wanted to see, with the change of manager and also just the injury over the summer, missing time in preseason and, missing some games to start the season, I wanted to see him, once healthy, break back into that starting lineup and, position himself as a lock starter again. And that's what it seems like he is at the moment. I hope we see him for the USMNT. I think the Nations League Cup games would be great for him, just to get more assimilated into the USMNT and get him some more time working with Greg Berhalter. Will it happen? Remains to be seen, kind of like all the other players we talked about. But great to see, Duane being a difference maker and a playmaker, and he's really becoming a fan favorite at Derby County. So definitely bodes well for the future. And we'll keep reporting on him. Hopefully he continues to get assists this year, get the occasional goal, and can kind of take that next step in his development to hopefully become a Premier League player one day. But we'll see. Don't want to hype him up too much, but definitely excited about what he brings to the field. So the final player we want to talk about today in this episode is Zack Steffen. So going through this player review, I'm torn because I'm really excited by what Zack did in this game, but I'm also really concerned about where Dusseldorf sit early in this year. So to go into the game first, Zack started in their 2-1 loss to Gladbach, had his very first penalty save for Dusseldorf. So that's really exciting and positive to see. But, also in this game, Dusseldorf lost. And if FootMob is correct, Zack Steffen only had 2 saves in this game. Wasn't actually able to watch it. So little side note there, or warning, disclaimer, I should say. But only had 2 saves in the game, and one was probably the penalty save. So not as good as some of his most recent games, but definitely good to see him get that first penalty save. Obviously Zach's known for saving penalties, and that's a big part of his mantra, I would say. So definitely good to see him get that confidence in saving the first penalty he faces over in Europe. So like to see that. Now the concerning part is not so much Zack Steffen's role in what Dusseldorf has done this year, but just where Dusseldorf sit. So right now they sit in 14th in the Bundesliga. They've only gotten 3 points in their first 5 games. So not the best start to the season, and definitely one to be concerned about. Zach is kind of standing on his head. I don't want to use that cliche too much, but he's doing really all he can, and that's actually through 6 games for Dusseldorf. So 3 points in 6 games. That's even worse. But 4 points through 6 games. I had my stats completely wrong. But Zach has 35 saves now through the first 6 games, which is 12 more than the second closest goalkeeper in the Bundesliga next to him. So definitely concerning that Dusseldorf is giving up that many shots game to game, and Zach's being relied upon to save that many shots. It's good in a sense because it gives Zach more experience. It gives him more chances to grow his rep and earn, respect in the Bundesliga. But at the same time, it's not going to bode well for Dusseldorf throughout the whole season. Dusseldorf coming into the season was a team that I thought was either could take that next step and be a top 10 Bundesliga team and finish somewhere around like 8th, or, they could stay where they were last year. I believe they finished in 10th or 12th and stay up and be a team that's dangerous in certain games, don't bring it to the table some other games. But at the moment, it seems like they've kind of regressed a little bit. And I know they've lost some players, over the summer, but I thought they still had a team with the quality that should at least keep them in the Bundesliga, but also keep them competitive with teams. And it seems like this year they've had their struggles defensively. They haven't really had any consistent goal scorers. And that's definitely concerning going through the rest of the season. So, we'll have to monitor that. It's definitely good to see Zach stepping up, and he has 2 Team of the Weeks in the Bundesliga already. He's won 2 of those for his club. So that's a good point to take away from the season so far for him. But I was hoping Dusseldorf was kind of going to be that place that he settles for longer than a year and really can make his home. But now, at least at the moment, I know it's still very early, I wouldn't really bank on that future. So, I think for this season, if Zach can stand out and prove that he can make it at the Bundesliga level, but also be a player that could make it even at a higher level or, for a bigger club, I think that's kind of the goal. And it looks like he's on his way to that goal too. So really, I would say good from Zack Steffen. I don't want to say really good, but so now that's it for this part of our episode. Now let's head over to Quick Kicks. And now it's your guys' favorite part of the show, and also Pat's. It's none other than Quick Kicks.
So you could test Duane Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
So to start off Quick Kicks, we have Tyler Boyd, who played the first 45 minutes in Besiktas's 4-1 defeat over Trabzonspor. And moving over to Germany, we want to let you guys know that Gio Reyna started and had an assist in BVB U19's 3-2 win over the weekend. So congrats to Gio. Now, moving over to England, we want to let you guys know that Lynden Gooch made his 100th career appearance for Sunderland over the weekend, and that was in their 2-1 win over MK Dons, where he played all 90 minutes. So, Lynden's still grinding away in League One with Sunderland, but fair play to him for getting that 100th appearance. That's good for him and pretty impressive to do as a player. Now, heading back to Germany, we want to let you guys know that Matthew Hoppe scored a goal in Schalke's 3-1 win. Schalke U19's 3-1 win, 3-0 win, excuse me. Schalke U19's 3-0 win over the weekend. Now, heading over to the Netherlands, Segino Dest came on for the final 23 minutes in Ajax's 2-1 win over Groningen. So good to see him back on the pitch, and hopefully we see him on that Nations League roster. Again, Chris Richards, going back to Germany, Chris Richards started and went 90 minutes for Bayern 2. Again, played at right back in their 4-1 win. So, again, really good to see Chris Richards. I believe he started in the last 5 to 6 games for Bayern 2. So, definitely good to see him getting consistent game time again this season. Now, going back to the Netherlands, Haji Wright started and went 90 minutes, but missed a penalty in VVV Venlo's 3-0 loss to Heerenveen. So, good to see Haji on the pitch, but disappointed to see him miss a penalty. But, nonetheless, really good to see him getting game time this season. Now, we want to let you guys know that Richie Ledezma and Chris Gloster both started and played 90 minutes for young PSV in their 5-2 loss to Excelsior over the weekend. Now, heading to Denmark, we're going to let you guys know that Christian Cappis and Emmanuel Sabbi both started and played 90 minutes, with Cappis picking up an assist on Hobro's only goal in the game, and that was in a 2-1 loss. We also want to let you guys know, too, that Yusef Samuel, another American at Hobro, subbed in for the final 8 minutes in this game. So cool to see that 3 Americans played a part in this game, and I believe there was a 4th that subbed in, Didi Locious. I'm not sure his last name or the rest of his name, but he unfortunately will not be eligible to play for the USMNT anymore because I saw on Twitter, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he took part in a Nations League game for Haiti. So that's unfortunate, but we'll see what what happens with him, and exciting to see more American players at Hobro and the Hobros as we call them. So now heading over to England, we want to let you guys know that Antonee Robinson played 90 minutes, and that was in Wigan's 2-0 loss to Fulham. Staying in England, we want to also let you know that Cameron Carter-Vickers started and went 90 minutes for Stoke City in their 3-2 loss to Nottingham Forest. And we also want to let you guys know that Stoke City now sit in dead last in the championship with only 2 points from 9 games. So not the start to the season we expected from Stoke. Obviously, they didn't have the best season last year in the championship, but we thought Cameron Carter-Vickers was going to go there to hopefully challenge for promotion, but it definitely doesn't look like that at the moment. So, it's a little disappointing. But now we want to give you one of our young Yas, and we want to talk about David Sagir Arce. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that name, but he's a 17-year-old striker who made his Liga MX debut for Morelia in their 3-2 loss to Club Tijuana last week. So he's a U17 eligible player. Not sure if we'll see him on that U17 World Cup roster for the U.S., but definitely someone to keep an eye on. He is a dual nat. He's available to play for the U.S. or Mexico, and should be a part of the upcoming U20 cycle if he's not selected for the U17 World Cup. So really promising to see a young American stepping up in Mexico and making his debut. That doesn't happen as often as it probably should. So really cool to see, and we're excited for David's future. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below. And also check out our Instagram and Twitter. We love posting on Instagram recently, and that's kind of been our preferred avenue to get information out to you guys. So definitely check us out on Instagram. And the Nations League's coming up. We've got some exciting young players we're hoping to cap tie in some of these games. Segino Dest we hope will choose us this camp and this window. But if not, we heard today that Brendan Aronson will be called up for the roster. So hopefully some more young players will follow because, one day we have to win the World Cup.